The Cleveland Cavaliers just traded Kyrie Irving for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Zizic, and the 2018 Brooklyn pick. What the heck just happened? Why would the Celtics do this? Anyway, in this video we'll be talking about what this trade means for the Celtics and what it means for the NBA in general. First, we will look at the Boston Celtics. They gave up Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and the Brooklyn Nets 2018 first-round pick, along with Ante Zizic, a young rookie big man. The 2018 first-round pick will most likely be a top 3 pick in the 2018 draft. My first reaction when I heard about this trade was, why in the world would the Celtics do this trade? I think this is a D trade for them. The only reason it's not an F is because they have Kyrie Irving locked up for 2 years. And it's Kyrie Irving. If you have him locked up for 2 years, it's got to be somewhat of a win. At least somewhat. But one thing that doesn't really make sense for the Celtics is they could have gotten Jimmy Butler or Paul George for way less than what they had to give up to get Kyrie. And it's not like there's a huge difference between Paul George and Kyrie Irving either, or there's not a huge difference between Kyrie Irving or Jimmy Butler, as Kyrie just has a slight edge in scoring and an edge in passing on both of them, but both Jimmy and Paul George are much better defenders and can rebound the ball way better than Kyrie. And Boston really needs rebounding, as they lack a true center, and their center is Al Horford, who's way too old to rebound anything. So they could have gotten almost the same amount of talent for half the price, but instead they paid the full price. That is absolutely absurd. I think the pressure and criticism of not pulling some of these trades finally got to Danny Ainge, and he blindly made a move. On top of all this, the Celtics overpaid for Kyrie Irving. The difference between Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving is not that much at all. Skill-wise, in my opinion, they are the same, but Kyrie's trade value is higher because he's much younger. Then you add Jay Crowder and the trade becomes fair for both teams. But then the Celtics threw in the Nets pick, which is most likely going to be a top 3 pick in the absolutely stacked 2018 draft, with so many once-in-a-generation type players. You have Michael Porter Jr., Marvin Bagley, Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, and the list goes on and on. This is where the trade goes completely south for the Celtics. In my opinion, they heavily overpaid for Kyrie Irving, especially compared to what other stars of his caliber were traded for, and especially since they had the leverage, since they knew Cleveland had to trade Kyrie, so they did not have to give up the Brooklyn pick and Isaiah. I think this is a fair trade for both teams. I think a fair trade for both teams would look like this: Kyrie Irving for Isaiah Thomas, Jaylen Brown, and Jay Crowder. And the Cavs would accept this trade, as they're desperate to trade Kyrie before training camps, and they were not going to get a better package than this. Also, the Cavs get a nice young player in Jaylen Brown, which they wanted, but no other team was willing to give up one of their young assets. Now let's talk about what Boston will look like this season and the seasons to come. This season, I expect the Celtics to make the conference finals and have a hard-fought series with the Cavs, which they will end up losing in the end. I think the Celtics are legitimate title contenders in about 2 to 3 years, where I expect Kyrie to average 26 to 28 points and 7 to 8 assists. Also, I expect Gordon Hayward to average around 24 points a game, along with 6 rebounds and 4 assists. Then Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will start to reach their potential, and I expect both players to be solid starters for the Celtics. Then Al Horford by then will have declined, but will still be a solid starter. Then with the help of Klay Thompson possibly leaving the Warriors, then the Celtics could be a real championship contender and have a real chance to win the NBA championship. But if the Celtics would not have overpaid for Kyrie, like not giving up that Brooklyn pick, they could have made another trade and possibly, or most likely, receive an all-star caliber player. And them actually winning a title in 2 or 3 years down the road would be much more likely to happen. So this bad trade for the Celtics might affect them in 2 or 3 years down the road. or even cost them a championship. But the Celtics' future is still looking pretty bright, and they still have assets to trade for a perennial all-star type player, such as maybe Marc Gasol or DeAndre Jordan. But if they have kept the Brooklyn pick, they maybe could have gotten someone like DeMarcus Cousins or Anthony Davis. That's a major upgrade than Marc Gasol or DeAndre Jordan. And then their chances of winning a championship in 2 or 3 years would skyrocket. I mean, imagine this: a lineup of uh, Kyrie Irving, a developed Jason Tatum, a developed Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, a solid starter in Al Horford, and either Anthony Davis at his prime or DeMarcus Cousins. That's good enough to at least give the Warriors a hard fight, and it may even be good enough to beat the Warriors. I mean, the Celtics could have been put in this situation. This trade might have put the Celtics in this situation, and then they just missed out on it. They could have won the championship. This trade might have just ruined their chances to win the championship in 2 or 3 years. I can't stress that enough. Okay, that's the end for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Also, please like and subscribe.